G5.
Bishop G5. What is this? He just lost the game.
He's lost.
And Magnus is champ.
Magnus Carlsen, the World Blitz champion. He's done it.
In this episode of the Chess News podcast, I discuss the FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Championships, the Global Chess League, and more. It was the last week of the year, and so we had the traditional World Rapid and Blitz, the favorite event of the year for many chess fans. It took place in Doha, Qatar, and the first 3 days it was all about rapid chess. Magnus Carlsen won the tournament for the 6th time in his career, taking back the title from Volodar Murzin, the surprising winner of 2024. The tournament initially started smoothly for Carlsen, who was sharing the lead with Gugash Domaraju, Arjun Erigaisi, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and Vladislav Artemiev after the first day. Due to an unnecessary loss to Artemiev, however, the Norwegian star finished the second day half a point behind Artemiev and, interestingly, Hans Niemann. Carlsen was quite annoyed right after losing that one game, and when a cameraman followed him rather closely leaving the playing hall, he briefly pushed away that camera. The images of that went viral on social media, but unlike last year, there was no real scandal in the tournament this time around. Carlsen had a great last day, which included a win against Niemann. Ahead of the final round, he was a full point ahead of the field and only needed a draw. In his last game, he split the point with Anish Giri, but if you were watching the event on the official FIDE broadcast, you missed that decisive moment completely. The surprising editorial choice by the people who were running that broadcast was to show the playoff in the women's tournament instead.
And the game with Magnus is over. Magnus and Giri are done, and Magnus is the champ. We see him leaving the building now. Magnus taking a 6th title. We expected it, but now it's official.
That women's tournament itself had its own strange ending, as the regulations stipulated to have only 2 players play a tiebreak in case of a 3-way tie. After 11 rounds, Alexandra Goryachkina of Russia, Zhu Jiner of China, and Hampi Koneru of India had all scored 8.5 points, but sadly, Hampi wasn't allowed to participate in the playoff and defend her title at the board. In a tweet that sounded vaguely familiar, Emil Sutovsky, the CEO of FIDE, wrote, "We had a poll where all the top players were asked about the best system. The tiebreak systems used now reflect preferences of a vast majority of players in respective sections. Hence, Open has a different tiebreak format from women." I don't know about you, but to me that sounds all a bit weird. Well, in that first tiebreak, Goryachkina played 2 games with Zhu and won 1.5 to clinch her first World Women's Rapid title.
And it is Alexandra Goryachkina who is the new Women's World Rapid champion. What a performance. Undefeated in the event. And there, just showing us how calm, collected, and killer-like she is in the final moments.
Something similar happened in the Women's World Blitz tournament, where 5 players finished on 11 points in the Swiss segment, but only the top 4 on tiebreaks qualified for the playoff. The one left out was Valentina Gunina from Russia, who had blundered from a winning position in the final round. The revelation of the Women's Blitz tournament was the 19-year-old Dutch player Eline Roebers, who was the sole leader after the first day and managed to finish in the top 4. She had her chances but lost to Anna Muzichuk in the semifinals. In the final, Bibisara Assaubayeva beat Muzichuk to win what was already her 3rd Blitz title, and Assaubayeva also qualified for the Women's Candidates tournament this way.
What just happened? She blundered a rook!
And Bibisara, she is a 3-time Women's World Blitz champion. What a moment, what a style, from securing the place in the top 4 to conquering in the semi-final and now delivering when it mattered.
The main story was, of course, Magnus Carlsen winning the World Blitz as well, by beating Nodirbek Abdusatorov, the World Rapid champion in 2021, in the final. Carlsen's path to reaching the playoffs wasn't smooth in this event. He was a point behind the leaders going into the second day of play and started with a loss right away. He said in an interview that he likely needed to score 4.5 out of 5 now at the end, and he did. Arjun Erigaisi was superb in the Swiss segment and finished a point ahead of the field, But that's where it ended for him, as he lost the semi-final to Abdusatorov, the player with the best tiebreak among 6 players who had finished in shared 4th place. Carlsen's opponent in the semi-finals was Fabiano Caruana, who drew twice with Carlsen before losing games 3 and 4. In the final, Carlsen twice managed to win a drawn endgame by showing superior technique and intuition, while both he and Abdusatorov were playing on increment.
It was really, really tough, but once we got into the knockouts, there was a weight completely dropped off my shoulders, and I mean, I was making mistakes here as well, but it felt a lot more in quite manageable, somewhat in control at least. And yeah, of course I went down in the finals. It could have gone either way, but at that point I felt that I'm playing all right, I'm in a great position, and regardless of what happens, I'm happy.
It was Carlsen's 9th World Blitz title and his 20th World Championship title across all 3 time controls. For the 5th time, he is wearing the double crown of both Rapid and Blitz World Champion. Then we left the Global Chess League last week with 2 days of play remaining. The Triveni Continental Kings had already qualified for the final, and the last round of the round-robin stage would determine their opponents. As it turned out, the Alpine SG Pipers finished in 2nd place, despite losing the final round, because their main rivals, the Upgrade Mumbai Masters, also lost. The difference was 1 tiebreak point, and so Hu Yifan's 4th win in a row proved crucial for the Alpine Pipers making it through. Meanwhile, the Triveni Continental Kings finished the round-robin stage 9 points clear of the field, and so the winners of 23 and 24 were the big favorites once again.
And then what is going on here? Look at this small margin, 84 versus 83 game points of Alpine versus the Ganges Grandmasters.
Yep.
Yeah, Triveni Continental Kings definitely won by a convincing 3-match margin. Mm-hmm. Look at that. That's 3 matches that other teams would have to win to catch up to them.
Yeah, true. They were certainly in the league of their own, right? I mean, it's, anything can happen tomorrow, but they've been at a completely different level throughout the tournament, we have to say.
However, with both teams starting from scratch on the final day, it was the Alpine SG Pipers who ended up winning the tournament this time around, as they defeated the Kings in both matches. Anish Giri and Leon Luke Mendonca were particularly important for the Pipers on that last day, as they won both of their games.
Draw resignation?
No, that's resignation.
Anyway, big congratulations to Alpine SG Pipers. They are the champions of Tech Mahindra Global Chess League Season 3.
There is another update to the news of 2 weeks ago that the FIDE General Assembly voted in favor of lifting sanctions on Russia and Belarus and allowing teams from those countries back into official FIDE events. The Ukrainian Chess Federation has now decided to challenge this decision at the Sports Court of Arbitration, or CAS. In a statement, the Ukrainian Chess Federation wrote that they believe that these decisions contradict the long-term recommendations of the International Olympic Committee, IOC, released in March 23, and the governing position approved by the IOC Executive Council and the Olympic Summit on December 11, 25. These recommendations directly prohibit the participation of the national teams of Russia and Belarus, as well as the use of national flags, anthems and other state symbols, especially at the adult level, allowing the participation of individual athletes exclusively under conditions of strict neutrality. The Chess Federation of Ukraine is convinced that adherence to the principles of international sports movement, neutrality and agreement with Olympic standards is a necessary condition for preserving the integrity and authority of international chess. The Chess Federation of Ukraine also wrote that it invites other federations, members of FIDE, to consider joining this appeal and welcomes any show of support from the international chess community. Related to all this is an interview with Ruslan Ponomaryov, which he gave to the Spanish newspaper El Mundo this week. Ponomaryov was also of the opinion that Russians shouldn't be allowed back into tournaments. He was asked, "Do you think it's fair to punish all Russians, given that some are against Putin?" His answer was, "That's not the case. We are all against the war. Find someone who isn't. Are there almost 1 million Russian soldiers in Ukraine by mistake? Several years have passed and they're keeping quiet. Silence also kills." Speaking of former world champions, there was a bit of news about Garry Kasparov, who has been put on a wanted list for arrest in absentia by a Russian court. The court followed an indictment against Kasparov on charges of justifying terrorism and planning a coup. The 13th world champion has been placed on an international wanted list. I'm recording this podcast from Sitges, Spain, where I'm spending the holidays. Just last week, the 12th edition of the Sunway Sitges Chess Festival finished here, and it was the Iranian Grandmaster Mahdi Gholami Orimi who won the tournament, beating Josep Manuel Lopez in a blitz playoff. The main open tournament was a 10-round Swiss and had a field of 242 players representing 42 federations. Among them were 16 Grandmasters and 25 Masters. It's one of my favorite chess festivals and highly recommended for amateur players to participate in. ChessBase has reported the wonderful news that Simpsons in the Strand in London is reopening, and not without retaining its connection to chess. In this famous cafe and restaurant, many important chess events were held in the past, and for example, it was there where Adolf Anderssen played his immortal game. Recently, Simpsons has reopened under the stewardship of the Savoy Hotel Group and the well-known restaurateur Jeremy King. Together with the musician and chess enthusiast Jason Kuciak, he plans to revive the chess tradition and combining it with music. The article notes that from early March 2026, a series of chess-themed evenings titled King's Gambit is scheduled to take place, and the program will include, among other things, jazz chess, a variant of blitz chess, blindfold chess, and talks by grandmasters about their chess heroes of the 19th century. There was also very sad news coming from England this week as Grandmaster Jonathan Hawkins passed away on Monday at the age of 42 after losing the battle with a rare form of cancer. Hawkins was a two-time British champion, author and coach. His passing came just a week after Danny Gormley had launched an appeal to help Hawkins and his family financially. Hawkins was the perfect example of a rather successful adult improver as he reached Grandmaster level of play at a relatively late stage in his life. He wrote down much of how he taught himself and how he got to master level in his book from 2012 titled Amateur to I Am, Proven Ideas and Training Methods. I link to my obituary in the show notes. On a final note, on December 30th, Vladimir Kramnik shared on X that he has filed a lawsuit against the International Chess Federation before a Swiss civil court. In a video, you can see Kramnik personally dropping the documents into the mailbox of FIDE's headquarters in Lausanne. The lawsuit can probably be seen as a response to FIDE's Ethics and Disciplinary Commission recently opening proceedings against him. We'll surely hear more about it soon. That's it for now. Have a nice New Year's Eve and see you next time.